The arena dome was the largest structure on Convergence Prime. It could simulate any environment from any known world. Today it was configured as neutral ground with hard-packed earth and scattered rocks, perfect for seeing what each predator could do. The viewing galleries were packed. Every species wanted to see the apex trials. Some came to cheer for their own predators. Others came to witness history. A few came just to see what the humans would do. The Vrilocks went first. Their predator was released into the arena with protective barriers in place. The creature was called a razorback, and it was everything a predator should be. 4 meters long, covered in armored scales with claws that could tear through steel. They watched it hunt down mechanical targets, moving with terrible speed despite its size. Its acid spray dissolved a reinforced target in seconds. The crowd roared with approval. The Vrilocks ambassador stood and bowed, pride evident in every movement. Next came the Keltharians. Their predator was different. Smaller, sleeker, built for ambush hunting. It had 6 legs and could move faster than the eye could follow. Special sensors let it detect electromagnetic fields, meaning it could track prey through walls. The mechanical targets never stood a chance. The creature was on them before they could even move. More cheers. More pride. The kicks released their swarm predator, thousands of small creatures that moved as one, stripping the mechanical targets to bare metal in less than a minute. The sound alone was terrifying, like a million tiny knives all cutting at once. One by one, each species presented their world's apex predator. Each one was impressive. Each one was terrifying. Each one proved that their species had evolved alongside monsters. Then it was humanity's turn. The arena fell silent. Everyone leaned forward. What would the humans bring? Had they found their real predator? Had they been hiding something after all? Yuna walked into the arena. Beside her walked Taiyang and a man named Hyun Ko, one of the ship's engineers. Yuna carried Hana. Taiyang carried Miso in his travel box. No cages, no containment fields. No weapons. The Vrilocks ambassador stood up. Is this a joke? Please sit down, Arbiter Velthorn said. Let them present. Hyun activated a holographic projector. Images filled the air above the arena floor. The galleries went quiet, watching. Our world is called Earth, Hyun began. His voice was calm and clear. Earth has many predators. Bears, big cats, crocodiles, sharks. But the apex predator of Earth is us. Humans. The images changed, showing early humans on the African plains. Humans are persistence hunters. We tracked prey for days, not hours, days. We followed animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. No other Earth predator can do this. We can run for hours without stopping. We can track across any terrain. We never give up. More images showed humans throwing spears, shooting arrows, bringing down animals much larger than themselves. Human throwing accuracy is unique on our world. We can hit moving targets while we're running. We can kill from a distance. Our hands evolved to grip and throw with precision no other species matches. The crowd was silent now, watching. The images were interesting, but nothing special. Many species here had strength humans couldn't match. The Vrilocks ambassador interrupted again. Yes. You're hunters. So are many prey species that became omnivores. This doesn't explain the infant and the pet. Yuna stepped forward. She set Hana down on the arena floor. The child stood close to her mother, looking nervous at all the eyes watching. Miso's carrier was opened, and the cat stepped out tail high. You're right, Yuna said, her voice carrying across the arena. What I've shown you isn't impressive compared to your predators. Your creatures are stronger, faster, better armed than humans. So let me explain what makes humans different. She knelt beside Miso. The cat rubbed against her leg, purring. This is a cat. 10,000 years ago, cats were apex predators in their environment. They hunted alone, killed efficiently, and feared nothing their size. But humans didn't hunt them. We convinced them to live with us. We offered them food and shelter. In exchange, they hunted pests that ate our grain. Over thousands of generations, they evolved to tolerate us, to trust us, to want to be near us. She picked up Miso, who curled contentedly in her arms. We didn't domesticate cats through force. We didn't breed them like we did dogs. Cats chose to be with us. They remained predators, but they became our predators. We turned apex hunters into companions. The galleries were silent. A few species shifted uncomfortably. Yuna set down Miso and picked up Hana. And this is my daughter. Human children are born completely helpless. They cannot walk. cannot feed themselves, cannot survive alone for years. Most species have offspring that can at least run from danger within days or weeks of birth. Human children take more than a decade to become independent. She held Hana close, and the child wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. This should have killed us. In any normal predator evolution, such helpless young would be a fatal weakness. The species would die out because the offspring couldn't survive. But humans didn't die out. We thrived. We spread across our entire world. Why? Yuna looked up at the galleries, meeting eyes with as many representatives as she could. Because humans evolved social bonds stronger than individual survival. Human adults will die to protect children that aren't even theirs. Human communities raise young together. Human society means that the weak are protected by the strong, not abandoned. We evolved cooperation so deep that it overrides individual survival instinct. She walked to the center of the arena, still holding Hana, with Miso following at her feet. So when you ask why we brought a child and a cat to the Apex trials, this is why. They prove what kind of predators we are. We don't just survive in our environment. We change it. We form bonds with other species. We protect the vulnerable. We cooperate across genetic lines. The Vreelox ambassador found his voice. This is weakness. On my world, the weak are left behind. Only the strong survive. This is how species become great. Is it? Yuna asked quietly. Your people brought a razorback. Impressive creature. Tell me, does it hunt in packs? No, razorbacks are solitary. Does it protect its young? The mother guards eggs until they hatch. Then the young must survive alone. And if a razorback is injured, do others help it? The ambassador paused. No, an injured razorback is killed by rivals or dies alone. Yuna nodded. Your predator made your species strong through individual power. Our predators made us strong through cooperation. Both paths led to the stars, but only one path created a species that brings its weakest members along for the journey. Thrix, the Keltharian scientist, stood up in the galleries. Ambassador Choi, a question. Your species evolved from prey or predator stock? Predator, but also omnivore. Humans ate everything, hunted everything, learned from everything. And your attachment to the young and the domesticated predator? This is instinct? Yes, deep instinct. Attack a human child and every human nearby becomes dangerous. Threaten a human's pet and that human will risk death to defend it. We know it's not logical. We do it anyway. The arena was silent except for the quiet sounds of Miso purring and Hana humming softly to herself. Arbiter Velthorn stood. The council will adjourn to consider what we have witnessed. The Vreelox ambassador wasn't done. I demand a practical test. Let humans prove their predator effectiveness. Words and images prove nothing. Other delegates murmured agreement. Velthorn raised his hand for silence. Very well. Ambassador Choi, will you accept a survival challenge? A practical demonstration in controlled conditions? Yuna smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been waiting for exactly this moment. We accept. The space station floated in the darkness between stars, massive and gleaming. Convergence Prime was the largest neutral meeting place in the known galaxy. Today it would host something that had never happened before. Yuna Choi stood at the window of the human diplomatic ship, watching the station grow larger. She was tall for a human woman, with short black hair and calm eyes. Behind her, Taeyang Park was checking his tablet for the 100th time that morning. Ambassador, are you certain about this? Taeyang asked. He was young, only 25, and this was his first major diplomatic mission. Yuna smiled without turning around. Too late to change plans now. The stellar horizon docked smoothly at the station's diplomatic berth. All around them, other ships were doing the same. Ships of strange shapes and sizes built by minds that thought differently than humans. Some ships looked like crystals. Others moved like living things. One appeared to be made entirely of light held together by force fields. Inside the station, the main council chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched so high above that clouds could form up there if anyone wanted them to. 12 different species had seats in the Galactic Council, and today all 12 had sent their most important representatives. Yuna walked into the chamber with Taeyang beside her. She carried a small orange cat in her arms. The cat's name was Miso, and he looked completely uninterested in the galaxy-shaking events happening around him. Behind them walked a small child holding Taeyang's hand. Little Hana was 3 years old, wearing a blue dress with stars on it. The chamber went silent as they entered. At the center of the room stood Arbiter Velthorn. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered between purple and blue. His species, the Drex, had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. He looked at the humans and tilted his head in confusion. "Ambassador Choi," he said in a voice like wind chimes. "The Apex trials are about to begin. Where is your predator?" Yuna gestured to Hana and Miso. "Here." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then someone laughed. It was the Vrilok's ambassador. His species looked like walking mountains, covered in thick scales and standing 3 meters tall. Behind him, in a reinforced containment field, crouched his world's apex predator. The thing was massive, with 6 eyes and claws the size of swords. Acid dripped from its jaws and burned small holes in the floor. The humans brought a baby and a pet. The Vrilocks roared with laughter. Other delegates joined in, though some looked more confused than amused. The Keltharian ambassador leaned forward. Her species looked like tall insects made of silver and gold.
"Surely this is a misunderstanding," she said.
"These cannot be your apex predators." "They're not," Yuna agreed calmly. She set Miso down on the floor. The cat immediately began cleaning his paw, completely ignoring the galaxy's most powerful beings. "We brought them for a different reason." "Then where is your real predator?" demanded the key representative. His voice came from a swarm of small flying creatures that moved as one. Behind them, in another containment field, his world's predator writhed. It looked like a living carpet of teeth and hunger. Yuna picked up Hana, who was starting to look nervous at all the strange aliens. "We are our world's apex predator," she said. "These two are proof of what kind of predators we are." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Even the usually serious Drex officials seemed amused. Arbiter Velthorn raised one long hand for silence. "Ambassador Choi, I must inform you that the Apex trials are not a symbolic exercise. Each species must demonstrate the predator that made them strong, the predator that shaped their evolution through danger and competition. This determines status, resource rights, and voting power in the council." "I understand," Yuna said. "Then you must understand that bringing a juvenile of your own species and a small domestic animal is insufficient." Velthorn looked almost sad. "I will give humanity 1 full cycle to retrieve your actual apex predator. If you cannot, the council will reclassify your species." "Reclassify?" Taeyang spoke up, unable to stop himself. Velthorn nodded. "As a protected species, you would keep your worlds, but you would have no vote in council matters, no claim to resource disputes, no ability to expand your territory. You would be wards of the galaxy, like children who stumbled into space before they were ready." The Vrilok's ambassador grinned, showing teeth like broken rocks. "Some species evolved from prey animals," he said. "There is no shame in it. The strong will protect the weak as nature intends." Yuna's expression did not change. She looked at each alien representative in turn, her eyes calm and steady. Finally, she looked back at Velthorn. "We will not be bringing another creature," she said clearly. "What we brought is what we choose to present. If the council wishes to understand, they need only watch and learn." The chamber erupted in confused discussion. Several delegates spoke at once in different languages, their translators creating a mess of overlapping words. Velthorn raised his hand again. "Very well. You have 1 cycle, Ambassador. Use it to reconsider. The formal demonstrations begin tomorrow." He paused, looking at little Hana, who was now playing with Miso on the floor. "In the meantime, perhaps you should return your offspring to your ship. This chamber will soon contain creatures far too dangerous for a human child." "Hana stays with me," Yuna said firmly. "That's part of the point." As the humans left the chamber, whispers followed them. Taeyang could hear the other species talking, even with the translators struggling to keep up. Did they really bring a baby to a predator trial? Perhaps humans have no dangerous creatures on their world. How did they even reach space if their world had no predators to challenge them? The small furry creature is cute, at least. Back in their quarters on the stellar horizon, Taeyang finally let his worry show. "Ambassador, they're going to classify us as a prey species. We'll lose everything Earth has worked for." Yuna sat on the couch with Hana, who was already getting sleepy. Miso jumped up and curled into a ball on the child's lap. "Have faith, Taeyang. Sometimes the most important truths are the ones nobody expects to learn." Through the window, they could see other ships arriving. Each one carried something terrifying in its cargo hold. The galaxy's worst nightmares, all gathering in one place. and humanity had brought a 3-year-old girl and an orange cat. Taeyang looked at his ambassador and wondered if she was the bravest person he had ever met, or if she had just made the biggest mistake in human history. Tomorrow would tell. Outside, the station's lights dimmed to simulate night. Inside the council chamber, workers were reinforcing the containment fields. The Apex trials would begin soon. Nobody knew that they were about to learn something that would change how the entire galaxy thought about strength. The diplomatic quarters on Convergence Prime were designed to accommodate all species. This meant the human section had normal gravity and oxygen, while next door the Keltharians lived in rooms filled with ammonia vapor. Down the hall, the Vreeloks needed triple gravity just to feel comfortable. Jiwon Nam was studying the security feeds when she noticed something odd. The security officer had been with the diplomatic corps for 7 years, and she knew suspicious behavior when she saw it. "Ambassador," she said, knocking on Yuna's door, "we're being watched." Yuna was sitting on the floor playing blocks with Hana. Miso was knocking the blocks down as fast as they could build them up. "How many?" "At least 4 species have surveillance pointed at our quarters. The Vreeloks, the Keltharians, the Kiks, and possibly the Dreks." Jiwon pulled up a holographic display. "They're scanning for hidden cargo holds, looking for concealed weapons, checking for life signs we might have hidden. They think we're hiding the real predator," Taeyang said. "He was making tea in the small kitchen area." "Of course they do," Yuna replied. She stacked another block and Miso immediately batted it away. "They can't imagine we're serious." Jiwon sat down looking worried. "Ambassador, I have to ask. We do have options. The genetic archive has DNA samples from extinct megafauna, saber-toothed cats, terror birds, cave bears. We could clone one in the medical bay within 12 hours. Or we could request a live specimen from Earth. A saltwater crocodile, a polar bear, even a Komodo dragon would be more impressive than—" She looked at Miso, who was now chasing his own tail. "Then this—" "No," Yuna said simply. "But why?" Jiwon pressed. "I respect your judgment, but I don't understand the plan." Yuna picked up Hana and settled the child in her lap. "Because bringing a bigger monster misses the entire point. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Tomorrow they'll start to understand." That evening, Yuna took Hana for a walk through the station's public observation deck. It was a massive space with transparent walls showing the stars outside. Species from across the galaxy mingled here, though most stayed with their own kind. Hana was fascinated by everything. She pointed at aliens and asked loud questions that made Taeyang wish he could disappear. "Mama, why's that one purple? Why doesn't that one have eyes? That one smells funny." A Keltharian scientist noticed them and approached. His name was Thrix, and he carried an array of scanning devices. "Ambassador Choi, may I?" "Be polite," Yuna warned. Thrix knelt down near Miso, who Yuna had brought in a small carrier. The scientist activated his scanner, and various readouts appeared in the air. "Fascinating," he muttered. "The creature is quite small, but its physical capabilities are remarkable for its size." He moved the scanner closer. Miso's ears went flat against his head. The cat's eyes turned to narrow slits. Retractable claws designed for gripping and tearing. Excellent night vision. Reflexes that operate faster than conscious thought. Hunting behaviors encoded at the genetic level. Thrix looked up at Yuna. "This is a predator, but it's so small. On my world, this creature would be prey for dozens of species." Miso had apparently had enough of being studied. He hissed, a sharp, angry sound that made Thrix jump backward so fast he dropped his scanner. "Aggressive response disproportionate to its size," Thrix noted, picking up his device with slightly shaking hands. "Does it not recognize the danger it's in?" "He knows we won't let anything hurt him," Yuna said, picking up the carrier. "That's the point, Thrix, that's exactly the point." The Keltharian watched them walk away. His insectoid features unreadable, but his body language thoughtful. Later that evening, there was a formal dinner for all the delegations. It was meant to be a peaceful gathering before the trials began. Long tables were arranged with different foods for different species. The humans sat at one end, the only species that brought a child to a formal diplomatic function. Hana was doing well at first. She sat quietly, eating her food and watching the strange aliens with wide eyes. But she was 3 years old, and 3-year-olds have limited patience. "I want dessert," she announced. "Finish your dinner first," Yuna said calmly. "No. I want dessert now." "Hana, use your nice words. I want dessert." Hana's voice rose to a shriek that seemed to pierce the air itself. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Several species clapped their hands over their ears. The Keek swarm scattered momentarily before reforming. The Keltharian's antennae vibrated wildly. Even the massive Vrlox ambassador winced. "What is that sound?" Someone shouted, "Make it stop!" Station security started moving toward the human table, but Yuna simply picked up Hana and held her close. She spoke softly, too quiet for the others to hear. Within 2 minutes, Hana had calmed down. She sniffled a few times and wiped her eyes, but the screaming was over. Yuna set her daughter back in the chair and gave her a small cookie. "There, that wasn't so hard, was it?" The other delegates stared. The Kix ambassador's swarm formed into a vaguely humanoid shape. "Why would you bring such an unstable creature to a formal gathering?" "She's 3, Yuna said, as if that explained everything. "She's learning, but she's so vulnerable," a Drex official said. "So loud and unpredictable. On any sensible world, such offspring would be kept secured until they develop survival capabilities. On Earth, we bring them everywhere," Taiyang added. "They learn by watching us, by being part of our society from the beginning." The Vrlox ambassador leaned back in his chair, which groaned under his weight. "This is madness. A child that cannot defend itself, that makes loud noises to attract predators, that requires constant supervision. This is proof that humans evolved in a world without serious threats. Or," Yuna said quietly, "it's proof of something else entirely, something you'll understand soon." That night, the alien delegates gathered in small groups to discuss what they had witnessed. In the Vrlox quarters, their ambassador met with his science team. "Analysis?" he demanded. "The small predator is efficient but weak. Any of our world's medium-sized predators would kill it easily. And the offspring? Helpless. Unable to run fast, cannot fight, has no defensive capabilities. The sound it makes would attract every predator within range on any proper world." The Vrlox ambassador nodded slowly. "So humans are either incredibly foolish, or their world had no real predators to shape their evolution. Either way, they don't belong on the council." In the Keltharian section, Thrix was reviewing his scans with his commander. "There's something strange here," he said. "The small predator responds to humans as if they're part of its pack. But humans in this species are completely different. Different evolutionary paths, different ecological niches. Domestication?" his commander suggested, perhaps. "But domestication usually involves force or breeding for specific traits. This seems different. The creature chooses to stay with them, chooses to trust them with its safety. That's not natural predator behavior." "No," Thrix agreed. "It's not." In their quarters, Yuna put Hana to bed while Miso curled up at the foot of the child's sleeping pod. Taiyang stood at the window looking out at the stars. "Do you think they'll understand?" he asked. "Eventually," Yuna said. She stroked Hana's hair until the child's breathing deepened into sleep. "The trials start tomorrow. That's when we show them what they're not seeing." "And what's that?" Yuna smiled in the darkness. "That the most dangerous predator isn't always the one with the biggest teeth. Sometimes it's the one that convinced all the other predators to protect its young." The arena's wilderness zone was designed for the most extreme survival tests. It covered 10 square kilometers and could generate any environment. The council chose randomized terrain, unpredictable weather, limited resources, and mechanical predators that would hunt any living thing they detected. Most species immediately withdrew. The idea of spending a full cycle in there with only your predator for help was suicide. The Vrlox razorback would eat its own handler. The Keltharian ambush hunter would vanish and never return. The Kix swarm would be impossible to control in an open environment. But Yuna accepted the challenge. She would take a small team into the wilderness zone for one complete cycle, 26 hours by station time. They would have basic supplies, nothing advanced, and they would bring Hana and Miso. "This is madness," Jiwon said, checking equipment for the 10th time. "The mechanical predators are programmed to hunt. The weather system can generate storms, extreme heat, or freezing cold. And you're bringing a toddler and a cat," Taiyang added. He was trying to sound brave but wasn't succeeding. He would be going in with them. Do-Hyun Lee was the 3rd member of their team. He was a survival specialist, trained for hostile environments. He had spent 2 years on a barely habitable colony world. If anyone could keep them alive, it was him. But even he looked nervous. "The terrain is random. We won't know what we're dealing with until we're inside," Do-Hyun said. He was packing supplies into a small bag. "We could get desert, jungle, mountains, or Arctic. The system will throw everything at us. I know, Yuna said calmly. She was dressing Hana in practical clothing, explaining to the child that they were going on an adventure. Will there be monsters? Hana asked, eyes wide. Maybe, but Mama will keep you safe. And Miso? Miso will help keep us all safe. The cat in question was sitting in a patch of sunlight, cleaning his paws and looking supremely unconcerned about everything. The viewing galleries were packed again. Every species wanted to see this. The odds were running heavily against the humans. Many expected them to request emergency extraction within hours. The wilderness zone's entrance opened. Beyond it was darkness. Good luck, Ambassador, Arbiter Velthorn said. Remember, you can call for extraction at any time. There is no shame in recognizing impossible odds. We won't need extraction, Yuna said. She picked up Hana, and Taeyang picked up Miso's carrier. Dohyun shouldered the supply bag. They walked into the darkness. The door closed behind them. The zone came alive. They found themselves in a forested area, trees rising high above them. The light was dim, filtered through dense canopy. The air was humid and warm. Jungle environment, Dohyun said immediately. He was already scanning the area. Good for cover, bad for long-distance visibility. We need to find water and establish camp before nightfall. How long until night? Taeyang asked, unknown. The zone randomizes day-night cycles. Could be 2 hours, could be 8. They moved carefully through the forest. Dohyun took the lead, marking their path. Yuna carried Hana, pointing out interesting plants and keeping the child calm. Taeyang let Miso out of the carrier. The cat immediately began exploring, nose twitching at all the new smells. In the galleries, the observers watched in fascination. The humans weren't panicking. They weren't rushing. They moved with purpose but not fear. They're keeping the offspring calm, Thrix noted, recording everything. Notice how the adult female continues to engage the young one in conversation, preventing panic response. And the small predator is scouting, another Keltharian observed. Look how it ranges ahead, then returns. It's checking for threats, the Vreelock's ambassador grunted. They've barely been in there an hour. Wait until the real challenges begin. Dohyun found a small stream after 30 minutes of searching. Water source. We camp near here. He quickly began gathering materials for shelter. Taeyang helped, following instructions. Yuna set Hana down near the stream. Can you collect smooth stones for me? Like this one. 10 stones. Hana nodded seriously and began her task. It kept her occupied and useful. She felt like she was helping. Miso, meanwhile, had found something. He crouched low, tail twitching. Then he pounced. A mechanical mouse drone squeaked and tried to escape, but Miso was faster. He caught it, and the drone sparked once before shutting down. A panel in a nearby tree opened, dispensing a small packet of food. Reward for successful hunting. Clever system, Dohyun said. Hunt the drones, get supplies. The zone rewards predatory behavior. By the time darkness fell, they had a functioning camp. Dohyun had built a shelter using branches and broad leaves. Taeyang had gathered firewood. Yuna had organized their supplies and prepared a simple meal. Hana ate quietly, watching the strange forest around them. Mama, I'm scared, right? I know, sweetie. But look around. We have shelter. We have fire. We have each other. That's what matters. Miso curled up next to Hana, purring loudly. The child put her hand on the cat's soft fur and immediately relaxed. In the galleries, the observers watched in silence. The offspring is frightened but controlled, a Drex official noted. The adult provides reassurance. The small predator provides comfort through physical contact. They're cooperating, Thrix said softly. Look at how they divide tasks. How they check on each other. How the weakest member is protected but also given purpose. The Vreelock's ambassador said nothing. He just watched. Night brought new challenges. The temperature dropped rapidly. They huddled close to the fire, sharing warmth. Hana fell asleep between Yuna and the fire, with Miso pressed against her for extra heat. Around midnight, sensors detected movement. A mechanical predator was approaching the camp. It was designed to look like a large reptilian creature, all teeth and claws and programmed hunting behavior. Miso heard it first. His ears swiveled, then flattened. He made a low sound, not quite a growl, not quite a hiss. Pure warning, Dohyun was awake instantly. He woke Taeyang with a hand signal. Both men moved quietly, not wanting to wake Hana or alert the predator to their awareness. The creature circled the camp, testing their defenses. But Do-hyun had chosen the location well. Their backs were to the stream. The fire provided light. Their shelter gave them a defensive position. Miso continued his warning sounds. The cat was small, but his voice in the darkness sounded bigger than he was. The mechanical predator paused, circuits processing this unexpected variable. Then the predator charged. Do-hyun met it with a burning branch, shoving fire into its sensors. Taeyang struck from the side with a heavy stick. The creature's programming made it avoid the fire, recoil from the pain stimuli. It wasn't real pain, but the simulation was perfect. Hana woke up crying, frightened by the noise. Yuna immediately covered the child with her own body, shielding her from danger. Miso stood his ground between them and the predator, fur standing up, making himself look bigger and more dangerous than he was. The mechanical predator retreated, disappearing into the jungle. Its programming told it to find easier prey. Hana sobbed into her mother's shoulder. I don't like the monsters, I know. But we're safe now, see? Do-hyun and Taeyang protected us. Miso warned us. And you stayed quiet and still like I taught you. You did perfectly. The child's crying slowed. I helped? You helped very much. In the galleries, the mood had shifted. What had seemed like foolish humans bringing weakness into danger now looked different. The infant controlled her fear response. A delegate observed. She followed instructions even while frightened. The small predator served as an early warning system, another noted. Those few seconds of alert time made the difference, and the adults immediately organized defense while one protected the young, Thrix added. No hesitation. No confusion. Everyone knew their role. The Vreelock's ambassador leaned forward, watching more carefully now. The rest of the night passed quietly. Morning came with humidity and the sounds of the mechanical jungle coming alive. Do-hyun checked his makeshift calendar. 16 hours left. We need to stay fed and hydrated. Stay alert for predators. Stay together. They moved through the day with growing confidence. Miso caught more drones, earning them supplies. Hana learned to spot edible plants that Do-hyun pointed out, her sharp young eyes useful in the dense foliage. Taeyang got better at building, creating tools from natural materials. Yuna kept everyone's spirits up and watched for danger. They weren't just surviving. They were adapting, learning, working together. By the time the extraction signal sounded, they had not only survived, but thrived. Their camp was organized. Their supplies were stockpiled. They had developed routines and systems. When they emerged from the wilderness zone, they looked tired but satisfied. Hana was asleep on Yuna's shoulder. Miso was draped across Taeyang's arms, purring contentedly. The galleries erupted in discussion. They had witnessed something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans hadn't survived through superior strength. They had survived through cooperation, adaptation, and the stubborn refusal to give up. And they had done it while protecting their weakest member every step of the way. The council chamber was silent as Arbiter Velthorn called the final session to order. The Apex trials were meant to rank species by their predatory heritage. But what the galaxy had witnessed over the past cycles had changed the conversation. Yuna stood at the human delegation's place, looking tired but calm. Hana was with G1 back on the ship, finally getting proper rest. Miso was in his carrier beside Taeyang, sleeping off his adventure. Before we proceed to judgment, Velthorn said, the Keltharian delegation has requested to present findings. The council recognizes scientist Thrix. Thrix moved to the center of the chamber. Holographic displays activated around him, showing data collected over the trials. The council tasked me with analyzing all apex predators presented. Thrix began. I studied hunting efficiency, survival capabilities, and predatory effectiveness. But I also studied something else, breaking points. The displays showed the Vreelock's Razorback. The Razorback is magnificent, powerful, deadly, but when injured it retreats. Self-preservation overrides aggression. It has a breaking point. More images appeared. The Keltharian Hunter. The Kick Swarm. Each impressive, each deadly, each with clear limitations. Every predator presented has a threshold where survival instinct takes control. Pain, injury, exhaustion. When pushed far enough, every creature prioritizes its own survival above all else. This is natural. This is expected. This is how predators work. Thrix turned to face the human delegation. Except humans. I have studied your species' history, your wars, your exploration, your survival records, and I have found something troubling. He pulled up human historical data, battles where soldiers fought despite mortal wounds, parents who ran into burning buildings for children, people who jumped into freezing water to save strangers, explorers who crawled for days with broken legs to reach safety. Humans don't have a breaking point where self-preservation takes over. Or rather, you do, but you override it. You die protecting others. You sacrifice yourselves for abstract concepts. You persist beyond any logical stopping point. The chamber was absolutely silent. This is not normal predator behavior. This is something else. Humans evolved a survival strategy that sometimes requires individual death for group survival, and that strategy was so successful that you conquered your entire world. Thrix's antennae twitched with what might have been nervousness. During the wilderness trial, I watched the adult female cover the offspring with her own body when the mechanical predator attacked. She did not run. She did not fight. She made herself the target to protect the young. This is not unusual in nature. Many species protect their own offspring. He paused. But humans do this for offspring that are not genetically theirs, for strangers, for members of other species. Your history shows humans dying to protect animals, defending people they never met, sacrificing themselves for ideas like freedom or justice. This is not predator behavior. This is not prey behavior. This is something the galaxy has not encountered before. The Kix ambassador spoke up, his swarm voice concerned. Are you saying humans are more dangerous than we thought? I am saying humans are dangerous in ways we did not predict. A razorback will kill until it is hurt, then retreat. A human will kill until they are dead and sometimes after. That persistence, that refusal to surrender. That is the apex predator trait of Earth. Thrix returned to his seat. The chamber buzzed with discussion. Minjun Kang stood up. He was the pilot of the Stellar Horizon, a quiet man who rarely spoke in council. But Yuna had asked him to say something today. The scientist is right, Minjun said. Humans are persistent. But I want to address something else. Many of you are worried about human violence, about our wars, about what we might do if we're allowed full council status. He looked around the chamber, meeting eyes with various delegates. Yes, humans fight wars. Yes, we fight each other. We have killed millions of our own species in conflicts over land, resources, and beliefs. This is shameful. This is our darkness, Minjun's voice grew stronger. But we also ended wars. We built peace treaties. We formed the United Nations. We created the Global Space Alliance. We took that same stubbornness, that same persistence, and we turned it toward cooperation instead of conflict. Because humans are persistent in everything, including making peace. He gestured to the view screen showing Earth. My planet is not perfect. We still have conflicts. We still have problems. But we are trying. Every day, billions of humans wake up and choose cooperation over conflict. We choose to protect the weak instead of culling them. We choose to reach out to the stars in peace instead of staying home in fear. Minjun sat down. Yuna squeezed his shoulder in thanks. The Vreelox ambassador finally stood. His massive frame cast shadows across the floor. Everyone expected him to argue against humanity, to demand they be classified as a protected species. To cite their weakness, instead, he spoke quietly. I have watched these trials carefully. I have thought much about what I have seen. He looked directly at Yuna. On my world, the weak are abandoned. Eggs that do not hatch quickly enough are left behind. Young that cannot keep up are forgotten. The old and injured are driven away. This is our way. This is how we became strong. He paused, his scaled face difficult to read. But watching the human female protect her offspring, watching the group share resources without question, watching them succeed through cooperation. I have questions now. Questions about strength, about what makes a species great. The ambassador's voice grew even quieter. On my world, I have offspring. 3 of them hatched weak. I left them behind, as is our way. They died. I felt nothing because that is our tradition. But watching the human child, so weak, so helpless, protected so fiercely, I wonder now if strength and weakness are what I thought they were. The chamber was silent. Nobody had expected this. I do not yet know what I believe, the Vreelox ambassador continued. But I know this. Humanity has shown us something we have never seen. They are predators who chose protection over predation. They are strong enough to defend weakness. This deserves respect even if I do not fully understand it. He sat down heavily, lost in thought. Arbiter Velthorn stood. The council must now vote. The question before us, Does humanity deserve full council status based on their demonstration? But first, added a Drex counselor, we must address the larger question. The Apex trials were meant to rank species by predatory capability. But humanity has shown us that predation is not the only measure of evolutionary success. Do we continue ranking species by individual predatory strength, or do we consider other factors? The discussion that followed was intense. Some species argued for tradition. Others argued for new understanding. Back and forth the debate raged. Finally, Velthorn called for votes. All in favor of granting humanity full council status? One by one, hands, tentacles, and various appendages raised. The Vrillox ambassador raised his massive hand. Thrix raised his. Even species that had initially mocked humanity voted in favor. The vote was unanimous. Humanity is recognized as a full council member, Velthorn announced. But this council also recognizes that the Apex trials themselves require reconsideration. Ambassador Choi, your demonstration has challenged our understanding of evolutionary fitness and survival capability. Yuna stood. Thank you, Arbiter. If I may, I want to say one more thing. Speak. My species is not perfect. We have darkness in our past and present. We make mistakes. We sometimes fail to live up to our own ideals. But we try. We persist. And we believe that the future of the galaxy is not about which species has the biggest teeth or sharpest claws. It's about which species can cooperate, can adapt, can protect the weak while respecting the strong, she smiled. We brought a child and a cat to these trials because they represent what humanity believes, that true strength is choosing who to protect, not just who to defeat. We are predators who learn to cooperate. We are survivors who learn to protect, and we offer that same cooperation to all species in this council. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then slowly, species began showing their approval. Different gestures from different cultures, but all meaning the same thing: respect. Later, back on the stellar horizon, the human delegation gathered to celebrate. Hana was awake now, playing with Miso on the floor. She didn't understand what had happened, not really. She just knew that everyone was happy. Jiwon raised a glass. To humanity. To the species that brought a baby to a predator trial and somehow made it work. To cooperation, Taeyang added. To persistence, Dohyun said. To choosing who we protect. Minjin finished. They drank together, laughing and releasing the tension of the past days. Yuna sat with Hana on her lap, watching her crew celebrate. Through the window, she could see other ships preparing to leave Convergence Prime. The galaxy had changed today, not in obvious ways but in important ones. They had learned that strength comes in many forms, that predation is not the only path to survival, that sometimes the most dangerous species is the one that learned to protect instead of kill. Miso jumped onto Yuna's lap, demanding attention. She scratched behind his ears while Hana giggled and tried to pet him too. Mama? Hana asked. Did we win? Yuna smiled. Yes, sweetie, we won. But more importantly, we taught. What did we teach? That families come in all shapes. That strength means taking care of each other.